I only used one Jaska to let a level 99 Seraphim Douluo wield a divine artifact and charge alone into Heaven-Do City. I also made that Pope, who never loved her daughter, swear tearfully that she would become a god and resurrect her, no matter the cost. But none of them knew that Qian Rinxiu, lying in the crystal coffin, wasn't actually dead. She was just sleeping, and I, her brother, kneeling beside the coffin, crying until my eyes were swollen and sore, swearing I was willing to be buried with her. I was the mastermind behind all of this. Because every time grandfather killed someone, every time the original plot collapsed a little more, my system would reward me with a massive amount of plot points. In less than a day, I went from a level 78 spirit sage straight to a level 93 titled Douluo. It all started at the Heaven-Do Palace. My name is Yi Tsongmei. I am an orphan brought back from outside by Qian Daoliu and raised in the enshrinement hall. Qian Rinxiu called him grandfather and called me brother, but no one knew I wasn't a native of this world. I was a transmigrator. The problem was that my memories of my past life awakened far too late. By the time I fully remembered the plot of Douluo Dalu, Tang San had already taken all the immortal herbs from the ice and fire in Yang Well. The Shrek 7 devils had grown strong. He had obtained the Azura God's domain and 100,000-year spirit ring, and even Qian Rinxiu's long-hidden identity in the Heaven-Do Empire had been completely exposed. The Heaven-Do Palace coup was destined to fail. If I had awakened right after transmigrating, there would have been almost no room for me to operate. Fortunately, at the same time my memories awakened, I also bound myself to the plot alteration system. Its rules were deceptively simple and brutal. Change the original storyline's direction, and you earn plot points. Plot points can increase spirit power, exchange for spirit rings, purchase divine artifacts, or even directly exchange for divine might. But to earn enough plot points, you have to create massive changes. Small, insignificant alterations wouldn't even earn 5 spirit power points, let alone save Qian Rinxiu. So I devised a crazy plan: have Qian Rinxiu die during the Heaven-Do Palace coup. Of course, not truly die. The system's newcomer gift pack contained a perfect Jaska card. Once used on a target, they would lose all vital signs. Even a God King descending from the divine realm would be unable to find any flaw. So after the coup failed, right in front of everyone, I let Qian Rinxiu die in my arms. Then I brought her body back to Spirit City. When that ice blue crystal coffin was carried into the enshrinement hall, I knew the real show was about to begin. Grandfather knelt by the coffin, crying like an ordinary old man who had lost all hope. He is a level 99 Seraphim Douluo, the high priest of the angel god, one of the absolute strongest beings on the continent. But at this moment, he was just a grandfather who had lost his granddaughter. His son, Qin Xuanji, was already dead. Now Qian Rinxiu lay in a coffin too. The lineage of the Qian family was broken. The 10,000-year legacy of the six-winged angel seemed to have reached its end. I knelt beside him, eyes bloodshot, constantly saying it was my fault for not protecting Schwer well, even volunteering to be buried with her. Grandfather didn't blame me, though, because I was only a level 78 spirit sage, and during the Heaven-Do Palace coup, titled Douluo level experts had intervened. He knew that was a battle I couldn't influence. He patted my head, telling me to live on well, because after Schwer's death, I was all he had left. But after saying that, the grief in grandfather's eyes suddenly transformed into madness. His son died at the hands of Tang Qin's grandson, his granddaughter at the hands of Tang Qin's great-grandson, Tang San. The rules he had guarded for a lifetime, pride he had upheld for a lifetime, all of it became a joke at this moment. He regretted it. He regretted not wiping out the roots back then, regretted following those so-called agreements. He even declared that not one person who hurt Schwer would be left alive. Just then, the doors of the enshrinement hall were pushed open. Bibi Dong had arrived. She still didn't know Qian Rinxiu was dead. Upon entering, she sneered at the enshrinement hall's failed scheming, saying they had ended up with nothing. But before she could finish her sentence, grandfather's spirit pressure fell upon her. He looked at her and said only one sentence: "I should have killed you back then. If it weren't for Bibi Dong's disdain for Qian Rinxiu, treating her own daughter as a lifelong shame, Qian Rinxiu, you wouldn't have felt the need to prove herself by volunteering to go undercover in the Heaven-Do Empire. If it weren't for Bibi Dong's rashness in launching the spirit hunting operation prematurely, alerting the enemy, the Heaven-Do Palace plot wouldn't have been exposed so early." So in grandfather's eyes, while Tang San was the murderer, Bibi Dong, as the mother, was equally culpable. It was only then that Bibi Dong saw the coffin. She saw her daughter, whom she had always considered an abomination, truly dead. She thought she wouldn't feel anything. But when she saw Qian Rinxiu's pale face, her heart felt as if it had been ripped apart. She grabbed my throat, interrogating me, the brother, why I hadn't protected her daughter, even threatening to make me be buried with Qian Rinxiu. Grandfather immediately pulled me free. Then, in front of everyone, he tore away Bibi Dong's last shred of dignity. While Schwer was alive, you never once acknowledged her as your daughter. You never gave her a single shred of care. Now that she's dead, You come here playing at mother-daughter affection. You destroyed the spirit hall to take revenge, established your own spirit empire. You achieved all of that. But the price was the life of your only daughter. His words cut into Bibi Dong's heart like knives. She finally realized that she was one of the biggest reasons Qian Rinxue had ended up this way. She didn't argue with grandfather. She just turned and left the enshrinement hall. Before leaving, she swore she would complete the Rakshasa god's inheritance. Once she became a true god, no matter the cost, she would resurrect Qianru. Watching her leave, I kept my head down, still acting devastated, but inwardly I knew the first major plot change had been completed. In the original story, Bibi Dong valued revenge and power above all else. But now her goal in becoming a god had shifted to resurrecting her daughter. Even just this change alone was enough to completely alter the future. But the truly big changes were yet to come. Grandfather walked to the deepest part of the enshrinement hall and forcibly summoned the angel divine artifact, the angel holy sword. He wasn't the true successor of the angel god, so using the divine artifact forcibly would cause immense backlash. But he no longer cared. The Qian family legacy was broken. His most beloved granddaughter was dead. The only reason left for him to live was revenge. The other enshrinement elders tried to stop him, but grandfather simply told them to guard Spirit Hall well. He then unfolded his six-winged angel spirit, wielded the angel holy sword, and flew straight towards the Heaven Do Empire. A completely unhinged level 99 Seraphim Douluo was about to exact his revenge upon Heaven Do City. In the original story, Qian Daoliu almost never truly fought. Now he was personally taking up his sword and marching on the Heaven Do Empire for Qian Rinxue's sake. This wasn't just a slight change. This was completely overturning the original narrative. Watching grandfather disappear into the distance, the other enshrinement elders thought I was still lost in grief over Schwer. They didn't know that as I looked at Qian Rinxue in the crystal coffin, only one thought was in my mind. Schwer, bear with it and sleep a little longer. Your brother has to do this to save you, and to save Spirit Hall itself. Sure enough, as grandfather left, my system began frantically notifying major plot change detected, plot points increasing. But I didn't let my guard down, because all the enshrinement elders were watching me. Elder Genie helped me up, comforting me, telling me not to blame myself. And then he told me a secret I had never known. The enshrinement elders had all known for a long time that I liked Qian Rinxue, and that she had feelings for me too. Grandfather had even decided that once her mission in the Heaven Do Empire was over, he would personally officiate our wedding. Hearing this, my heart still trembled fiercely. Thankfully, Schwer wasn't truly dead. That unfinished wedding could still happen in the future. I returned to my room, closed the door, and the grief vanished from my face, replaced by barely contained excitement. Because the plot points on my system panel were skyrocketing at an astonishing rate. I didn't know exactly what grandfather was doing in Heaven Do City, but judging by the speed my points were increasing, he was causing an even bigger commotion than I had anticipated. I didn't waste any time. I immediately spent plot points to raise my spirit power from level 78 to level 80, then exchanged them for a divine spirit ring. The ring's age skyrocketed, white, yellow, purple, black, and finally settled into the crimson red of a 100,000-year spirit ring. After absorbing it, my spirit power shot up to level 83. I used the remaining plot points to push my cultivation further. In less than half an hour, I had gone from a level 78 Spirit Sage to a level 85 Spirit Daoliu with a 100,000-year spirit ring. And because the power was instilled directly by the system, it was completely stable, requiring no further tempering. With my dual spirits, the extreme light attribute Bright Sacred Dragon and the extreme darkness attribute Dark Sacred Dragon, even against an ordinary title Daoliu, I could now hold my own. On the other side, grandfather had arrived at Heaven Do City. Facing the heavily guarded imperial capital, he didn't announce himself, didn't negotiate, didn't even slow his pace. He simply swung his sword at the city gate. The towering gates, along with the guards responsible for their defense, were instantly devoured by a golden blade light. Thousands of soldiers and spirit masters rushed from all directions, trying to hold him back with numbers. But before a level 99 Seraphim Douluo, numbers were meaningless. With every swing of his sword, everything before him fell to the angel holy sword. No one could stop grandfather from walking towards the Heaven Do Imperial Palace. Quickly, one battle report after another was rushed into the palace. City gates breached, royal knights annihilated, 3 education committee members defeated, imperial guard unable to hold the line. From the first report to grandfather stepping into the main hall, barely any time had passed. The emperor finally realized that the white-robed man who had single-handedly broken into Heaven Do City was none other than the Spirit Hall's high priest, Qian Daoliu. Grandfather had only one question: where is Tang San? But Tang San and the others had already left after the palace coup. The emperor didn't know where, and Prince Schwebing didn't know either. Not getting an answer, grandfather turned the entire Heaven Do Imperial Palace into ruins. If he couldn't find Tang San in the palace, he would go to Shrek Academy. If he couldn't find him anywhere in Heaven Do City, he was prepared to make the entire city pay with their lives for Qian Ryu. At that moment, at Shrek Academy, Flanders was still unwilling to leave. He argued that since Tang San had already left, Shrek Academy was just a school. Surely a peerless Douluo wouldn't be so indiscriminate as to slaughter the innocent. Zhao Wuji, however, frantically urged him to flee, saying that a desperate Qian Daoliu was no longer a normal person. Flanders refused, saying he would rather die at his beloved academy than abandon it, until a streak of golden light fell from the sky, crashing through the roof of the principal's office. Standing before them, covered in blood and holding the angel holy sword, was Grandfather. All of Flanders's former bravado vanished instantly. He and Zhao Wuji couldn't even resist Grandfather's spirit pressure. They collapsed to their knees. Again, Grandfather asked only one question. Where did Tang San go? Flanders chose to lie. Zhao Wuji refused to speak as well. And so Shrek Academy vanished from Heaven-Do City. The moment Shrek was destroyed, the plot points on my interface exploded once more. Yes, Grandfather was causing the original story to completely collapse. Only by changing enough could I ascend to the peak as fast as possible. Only by truly becoming a god could I change the originally destined destruction of Spirit Hall. I immediately raised my spirit power to level 90, then exchanged for another divine spirit ring. Its age rose all the way to 230,000 years. The immense power of the ring flooded my body, sending my spirit power to level 93 peak. Just that morning, I had been a level 78 Spirit Sage. In less than a day, I had become a level 93 titled Duo. Becoming a titled Douluo in a single day, if such news spread, it would drive the entire continent into a frenzy. Then I exchanged for 3 fusion skills specifically suited for my dual spirits. The first allowed the bright Sacred Dragon and Dark Sacred Dragon to manifest simultaneously, extreme light in my left hand, extreme darkness in my right. The second could release a massive light-darkness domain, confusing the enemy's senses and constantly weakening their spirit power to nourish myself. The third compressed the powers of light and darkness into a draconic divine spear with near-divine power. My strength had undergone a heaven-defying transformation, but at that moment, the loud commotion startled the enshrinement hall. Elder Genie and the others rushed into my room, thinking I was about to do something foolish out of grief over Schwer's death. But when they felt my spirit power, they all froze. They clearly remembered I was only level 78 when I returned to Spirit City. Now, in less than a day, I had become a level 93 titled Duo. Such a speed of advancement was simply inexplicable. Of course, I couldn't tell them about the system, so I put on my grieving expression again and told them. After returning to my room, I was consumed by regret. If only I had been stronger during the Heaven-Do coup. If only I had been a titled Douluo then, maybe Schwer wouldn't have died in my arms. Perhaps this intense obsession had stirred some supreme being. My consciousness was drawn to a mysterious space where I received the inheritance of a certain deity. The cultivation I had now was a reward from the deity's trials. The deity also told me that once I completed all the trials and inherited the divine position, I would gain the power to resurrect Qian Ryu. Hearing this, the enshrinement elder's eyes reddened instantly. Qian Ryu could be revived, and I had obtained a divine inheritance. This meant Spirit Hall hadn't lost hope, and the future of the Qian family wasn't completely over. I swore before them that I would complete all the trials, that I would become a true go. The day I became a god would be the day Qian Rinxue woke up again. And on that day, they would still be able to witness my wedding with Schwer. The enshrinement elders believed me. Bibi Dong was also accelerating her completion of the Rakshasa god's inheritance to resurrect her daughter. Qian Daoliu, wielding the angel holy sword, was still searching for Tang San in Heaven-Do City. They all thought Qian Rinxue in the crystal coffin was dead, but only I knew she would wake up again soon. And before she woke up, I had one more thing to do. Head to the Star-Do Forest to find the Azure Bull Python and the Titan Giant Ape. In the original future, they were destined to become 200,000-year spirit rings for Tang San. But in this life, Tang San's opportunities would be mine. These 200,000-year spirit beasts would serve as the perfect spirit rings for my dark sacred dragon. Grandfather was rewriting the plot in Heaven-Do City, and I was reaping the rewards. By the time Tang San reappeared, he wouldn't just be facing a completely insane Qian Daoliu. He would also face me, a person with dual extreme spirits who become a titled Douluo in a single day and who knew all of his future opportunities. Grandfather's revenge wasn't over yet, and I knew that although Tang San had already fled, there were still people in Heaven-Do City who knew his whereabouts. The 7 treasure glazed tile sect master, Ning Fengji, Sword Douluo Chen Xian, Bone Douluo Guro. Not only were they closely connected to Tang San, but Ning Fengji's daughter, Ning Rongrong, was one of the Shrek 7 devils. As long as Grandfather found them, he would definitely be able to find out where Tang San San had gone. At that moment, in a forest outside Heavendo City, 3 figures were desperately fleeing. They were Ning Fengji, Qin Xian, and Gu Rong. The moment grandfather shattered the city gates with a single sword strike, Qin Xian had recognized him. A level 99 peerless Douluo, the high priest of the spirit hall, Qian Daoliu. Qin Xian would never forget that name, because many years ago, his father, Qin Jinjue, had challenged grandfather and ultimately died by his sword. He had witnessed that battle from afar, and precisely because he had seen it, he understood better than anyone how terrifying a level 99 Seraphim Douluo truly was. Especially now, when grandfather had lost his only granddaughter, abandoned all reason, and was driven solely by vengeance. Qin Xian began to regret not leaving Heavendo City with Tang San and the others earlier. He had thought that at most, the Spirit Hall would start a war after Qian Rinchu's death. He never imagined grandfather wouldn't need an army, one man, one sword, from the city gates to the palace, from a palace to Shrek Academy. The once prosperous 7 treasure glazed tile sect had just been heavily damaged by the Spirit Hall, its foundation almost completely destroyed. Now grandfather was coming himself. If they were caught, the last remaining strength of the 7 treasure glazed tile sect would be completely erased. Being a peak Douluo and being a peerless Douluo aren't even the same concept, Qin Xian said grimly. They were still discussing escape plans when a dazzling golden streak of light suddenly fell from the sky. Boom. The entire forest shook violently. Surrounding ancient trees shattered instantly, and the ground was blasted into a crater dozens of meters wide. Amidst the swirling dust, a figure strode out slowly, holding a golden longsword. His white robes were stained crimson with blood, and the blade of his sword still reeked of fresh gore. He looked at the 3 who were trying to escape, a faint smile curling at the corner of his mouth. "Where are you 3 little mice off to?" Qin Xian's face went pale. Their worst fear had come true. Grandfather recognized Qin Xian. He even remembered Qin Jinjue, who had sought death by challenging him back then. Looking at Qin Xian, he said calmly, "Your father didn't know his place back then, and he died by my sword. What today? Do you want to follow in his footsteps?" Qin Xian didn't dare make a rash move. He tried to play ignorant, but grandfather had no patience for games. He directly told them his granddaughter, Qian Rinxue, had died in Heavendo City. The one who killed her was Tang San, and the 7 treasure glazed tile sect had a close connection with Tang San. Then, as if recounting insignificant details, grandfather casually mentioned what he had just done. The Heavendo Emperor didn't know where Tang San was, so the Heavendo Empire is gone. The Shrek Academy Dean wouldn't talk, so Shrek Academy is also gone. Now it's the 7 treasure glazed tile sect's turn. He said he would let them live if they told him where Tang San went. Hearing this, Ning Fengji's heart wavered. He knew that even with Qin Xian and Gu Rong fighting desperately, they couldn't defeat grandfather. It was impossible to beat him, impossible to outrun him. At this point, maybe exchanging Tang San's whereabouts for the 3 of them surviving was the only option. But he still had a concern. Ning Rongrong was also with Tang San. He could betray Tang San, but he couldn't just watch his daughter die. So Ning Fengji made a condition. He would tell grandfather where Tang San was, but grandfather had to promise to spare Ning Rongrong, since Qian Rinchu's death had nothing to do with her. Grandfather agreed without hesitation, saying he wouldn't take it out on a young girl. Getting the promise, Ning Fengji finally revealed the answer. Sea God Island. Tang San Yu Xiaoga. Ning and the Shrek group had long left the Douluo continent and gone to the distant Sea God Island, seeking the protection of the Sea God Island's high priest, Bo Saishi. Hearing this name, grandfather's smile widened, but was a mad, chilling smile. Bo Saishi, the woman who once shared a special past with grandfather, was now using Sea God Island to shelter the murderer of his granddaughter. Then grandfather looked at Ning Fengji and the others. "I promise to let you go if you told me where Tang San is. And I, Qian Daoliu, have always kept my word." Qin Xian and Gu Rong breathed a silent sigh of relief. But grandfather wasn't finished. He continued. "That was the promise of the old high priest of the spirit hall, Qian Daoliu." His tone turned icy cold. "The man standing before you now is just a grieving old man who has lost his granddaughter, a vengeful ghost with nothing left to lose. Everyone connected to Tang San, everyone who helped Tang San, must be buried with Schwer." It was only then that Ning Fengji realized grandfather had never intended to let them leave. His so-called promise was just a ploy to get Tang San's location. The next moment, grandfather moved. The angel holy sword erupted with 100-meter-long golden blade light. Qin Xian and Gu Rong both threw themselves in front of Ning Fengji, preparing to use their strongest spirit abilities to buy him time to escape. But Qin Xian's spirit ability name was barely half-shouted before grandfather was already right in front of him. Too slow. In the sky, the 6-winged angel is invincible. At 97, you are still far from understanding the gap between us. The scorching holy flame surged along Qin Xian's wound. It was only in his last moments that he truly understood the kind of existence his father had faced. He had already broken through to level 97, standing at the pinnacle of the spirit master world. Yet before grandfather, he couldn't even withstand a single blow. Father, you died by Qian Daoliu's sword back then. Now, your son has come to join you. With an explosion of divine flame, Qian lost all signs of life. Gu Rong, seeing his old friend fall, was driven to madness. But just as he was about to launch a desperate attack, a golden blade light flashed past him. A level 95 titled Douluo and a level 97 Super Douluo, two of them together couldn't even last a single exchange. Not only did Grandfather possess the divine artifact, he could even draw upon some of the angel god's power. After dealing with Qian and Gu Rong, Grandfather looked up. Ning Fengji had taken the opportunity to flee far away, but he was only a level 79 support type spirit sage. Against Grandfather, who was known as Invin, Sable in the sky, that speed was no different from standing still. A golden streak of light cut through the night sky. In an instant, Grandfather appeared before Ning Fengji. Ning Fengji looked at the completely unharmed Grandfather, and the last glimmer of hope on his face vanished. Sword Douluo and Bone Douluo, are they dead already? Dead. And I never intended to let you live from the start. Tang San killed Shuer. He's a direct murderer, but the 7 treasure glazed tile sect helped him too. Ning Fengji completely broke down. He demanded to know what the 7 treasure glazed tile sect had ever done wrong, why the Spirit Hall had to wipe them out completely. Grandfather just said calmly, the 7 treasure glazed tile sect did nothing wrong. The Heaven Do royal family did nothing wrong. Shrek Academy did nothing wrong. But Shuer is dead. So right and wrong don't matter to me anymore. I don't need to judge who is guilty. I just need to know who is connected to Tang San. And anyone connected to him will die. Not just you, but Ning Rongrong too. And everyone around Tang San. A blade of light flashed. The 7 treasure glazed tile sect master, Ning Fengji, fell dead in the forest. His dying thought was that Tang San would one day avenge them. But Grandfather didn't care about his threat. Tang San escaping to Sea God Island? So what? Bo Saishi protecting him? So what? If Sea God Island dared to shelter Tang San, then Sea God Island itself would be destroyed too. After finding out where Tang San was, Grandfather could have headed straight for the sea. But instead, he returned to Heaven Do City. Because before he left, he had one final reckoning to make. He flew high above Heaven Do City, looking down at the once prosperous imperial capital. Qian Renxue had operated undercover here for over a decade, and here, she had lost her life. Grandfather began to regret. If only he hadn't agreed to the undercover plan, if only he hadn't sent her and me to this city, maybe she wouldn't have died. Maybe I wouldn't be drowning in this endless skill. All of this was his fault, but no matter how much he regretted it, he couldn't make Qian Renxue open her eyes again. At least, that's how it seemed to him. He had killed the Heaven Do royal family, destroyed Shrek Academy, slain Ning Fengji, and the others. But the pain in his chest hadn't lessened one bit. So he poured all his hatred into the city itself. Since Shuer died here, this city had no reason to continue existing. Grandfather raised the angel holy sword high. 9 spirit rings rose beneath his feet, 8 black, 1 red. The lowest were 10,000-year rings. The 9th was a 100,000-year ring. As the high priest who had completed the angel's 8 trials, his spirit ring configuration far surpassed ordinary spirit masters. Then Grandfather began to chant, praise the sun, praise the light, praise the deity who dispels the darkness. But what descended from the sky was not salvation. It was destruction. 9th spirit ability, blazing sun descends. With a 100,000-year spirit ring lighting up, boundless spirit power surged into the angel holy sword. A mass of golden light gathered and grew rapidly at the sword's tip. 10 meters. 100 meters, 1,000 meters. In just a few breaths, a massive golden sun, resembling a real star, appeared above Heaven Do City. The pitch-black night was suddenly bright as day. The scorching heat caused the very space around it to warp. Countless people in the city looked up, confused as to why the sun had appeared in the middle of the night, until they realized that the sun was slowly falling. Chaos erupted instantly. Cries, screams, and pleas for help filled the streets. But Grandfather's expression was blank as he swung the angel holy sword down. The colossal golden sun plummeted towards Heaven Do City. Boom. Scarlet gold flames instantly engulfed the entire city. The once prosperous, millennia-old capital of the Heaven Do Empire was reduced to a sea of fire. When the light faded, nothing remained but scorched ruins, walls, streets, houses. Everything was ash. The old Qian Daoliu might have felt pity for the innocent, but now, having personally destroyed an entire city, his heart held nothing but emptiness. Because Qian Renxue was already dead, the lives of others no longer mattered to him. Yet even after Heaven Do City was gone, Grandfather found no satisfaction, only a deeper, hollower void. Killing more people couldn't bring Shuer back. Destroying more places couldn't make the girl who used to call him grandfather appear before him again. The only thing he could tell himself was that he hadn't killed enough, that there were still more people who needed to be buried with Shuer. The Heaven Do royal family was gone. Shrek Academy was gone. The last strength of the 7 treasure glazed tile sect was gone. And the next place on his list lay to the northeast. There, hidden away, was a sect that had once been known as the number #1 sect in the world, a sect that had sealed its gates and was barely surviving. The Clear Sky sect. After erasing Heavendo City with a single sun, Grandfather didn't rest. He didn't immediately head to Sea God Island either. There was still an old blood debt spanning 3 generations that Tang San owed. The Clear Sky sect. Tang Qian had once been counted among the continent's 3 peerless Daoliu alongside Grandfather. They had respected each other, even called each other brothers. But Tang Qian's grandson, Tang Hao, had indirectly killed Grandfather's only son, Qian Xuanji. And now Tang Qian's great-grandson, Tang San, had personally killed Qian Ru. At least, that's how Grandfather saw it, with Shuer lying motionless in the crystal coffin. His son died at Tang Hao's hands. His granddaughter died at Tang San's hands. 2 generations of the Tang family had essentially wiped out the Qian family's bloodline. How could Grandfather possibly let this go? Before Tang Qian left the Clear Sky sect to seek the path to godhood, he had made an agreement with Grandfather. As long as Grandfather lived, regardless of whether Tang Qian became a god, vanished, or perished, the Spirit Hall would never completely destroy the Clear Sky sect's legacy. For so many years, Grandfather had kept that promise. Even after Tang Hao caused Qian Xuanji's death, he had the power to flatten the Clear Sky sect but chose to spare them, only ordering them to seal their gates and live in seclusion. He hadn't wiped them out, but now Grandfather realized that the commitment he had upheld for so long was a complete joke. He had spared Tang Hao, spared the Clear Sky sect, and what did he get in return? Tang San grew up and killed the last hope of the Qian family. Since the Tang family had repeatedly challenged his bottom line, the old agreement was now worthless. Grandfather held the Angel Holy Sword and flew across a vast distance. Meanwhile, back in Spirit City, I watched as the plot points once again exploded upward. I knew Grandfather had just done something that would shake the very foundations of the continent. But this was far from the end, because once he set foot in the Clear Sky sect, the last terrestrial stronghold behind Tang San would also be destroyed. Arriving above the Clear Sky sect's mountain gate, the once #1 sect in the world, since sealing its gates, was hidden deep within the mountains, difficult for outsiders to find. But for a level 99 Seraphim Douluo, these concealment methods were meaningless. Grandfather stood in the void, looking down at the majestic sect, and let out a cold laugh. Clear Sky sect. Since you chose to hide, you should have stayed hidden forever. Why did you have to oppose the Spirit Hall again and again? Why did you let Tang San interfere with Shuer's years of work? Why did you let him kill her? Sparing you back then was the biggest mistake of my life. And today, I'm here to correct that mistake. Grandfather landed in front of the mountain gate. 2 Clear Sky sect disciples on guard duty immediately stepped forward to block him. Both were 6-ring spirit emperors, impressive by outside standards. But when facing Grandfather, their bodies trembled uncontrollably. The oppressive pressure was even more terrifying than a 100,000-year spirit beast. Even though they sensed the danger, they still relied on the Clear Sky sect's reputation, warning Grandfather not to come any closer. This is Clear Sky sect territory. Grandfather just smiled faintly. The Clear Sky sect is exactly who I'm looking for. The 2 guards summoned their Clear Sky hammers, ready to attack together. But their spirits had barely manifested when a golden blade light flashed past them. The 2 6-ring spirit emperors were instantly incapacitated. After dealing with the guards, Grandfather fully released his presence. The spirit pressure of a level 99 peerless Daoliu erupted like a volcano that had been dormant for 10,000 years. Rocks shattered, buildings shook, the entire mountain range trembled violently. Ordinary sect disciples couldn't even remain standing. The commotion immediately alerted all the Clear Sky sect higher-ups. The current sect master, Tang Xiao, along with the sect's 6 titled Daoliu elders, rushed to the mountain gate at the same time. 7 titled Daoliu arriving together. This was almost the entirety of the Clear Sky sect's top combat strength. Tang Xiao himself was level 97, a super Daoliu who was rare even on the entire continent. They had arrived angry, thinking someone was provoking the #1 sect's dignity while it was in seclusion. But when Tang Xiao got a clear look at Grandfather's face, his anger froze instantly. Qian Daoliu, the peerless Daoliu who, alongside their ancestor Tang Qian, was known as invincible in the sky. He had come personally. What was even more unsettling was Grandfather's appearance. His white robes were completely soaked in blood. The Angel Holy Sword in his hand was still dripping crimson. He radiated not holiness, but a suffocating aura of murderous intent. The Clear Sky sect's Grand Elder immediately brought up the agreement between Tang Qian and Grandfather, reminding him that regardless of whether Tang Qian was alive or dead, the Spirit Hall could not destroy T. He Clear Sky sect's legacy. Grandfather acknowledged that the agreement existed and that he had kept it for many years. But the problem was that Tang Hao had killed Qian Xuanji and Tang San had killed Qian Rijue. People from the Clear Sky sect had repeatedly opposed the Spirit Hall, repeatedly taken away those dearest to him. Tang Xiao was enraged. He argued that it was the Spirit Hall who had attacked Tang Hao and the 100,000-year blue-silver emperor first. The Clear Sky sect was the victim. But grandfather refused to see it that way. In his view, Qin Xuanji only wanted a 100,000-year spirit ring. He didn't intend to kill Tang Hao. But after breaking through to title Douluo, Tang Hao had severely injured Qin Xuanji, ultimately causing his death. Tang Xiao argued that the Clear Sky sect had already paid a heavy price, seclusion, disbanding their 4 subordinate clans, their sect standing plummeting. Wasn't that enough to settle the old score? Grandfather laughed. He told Tang Xiao that today wasn't about old debts. The matter of Qin Xuanji was long over. He had come to the Clear Sky sect today for a new blood debt, for his granddaughter, who had just died. Hearing that Qin Rinxue was dead, Tang Xiao and the 6 elders were stunned. Qin Xuanji was already dead. Now Qin Rinxue, the last direct descendant of the Qin family, was gone too. This meant the 10,000-year legacy of the 6-winged angel was completely finished. A peerless Douluo who had lost his son and his only granddaughter, with no one left to care for, there was no telling what he might do. The Clear Sky sect's grand elder immediately explained that since sealing their gates, the sect's disciples had almost never left the mountain. Qin Rinxue's death could not possibly be related to the Clear Sky sect. Grandfather didn't argue. He only asked them one question. Is Tang San a disciple of the Clear Sky sect? Tang Xiao didn't hesitate. Tang San is a direct disciple of the Clear Sky sect. Hearing that answer, the Grand Elder nearly fainted. Qian Daoliu had come with murderous intent, asking about Tang San's identity. That meant Tang San must be involved. At a time like this, even if they couldn't completely deny the connection, they shouldn't have admitted it so readily. But Tang Xiao not only admitted it, he emphasized that Tang San belonged to the Clear Sky sect. The smile on grandfather's face grew colder and colder. I found a right place. It was Tang San who killed Shuer. I came to shatter the Clear Sky sect's mountain gate today, not to reason, not to investigate the truth. I'm just here to kill, to avenge my granddaughter. What made it even more ironic was that the Clear Sky sect claimed Tang San as one of their own. UT Tang San had caused such a huge disaster and had already left with Tang Hao, not even sending a single message back to the sect. Tang San killed Qian Rinxue, bringing Qian to a level 99 peerless Douluo upon them, but he had fled to Sea God Island, leaving the entire Clear Sky sect to bear his wrath. The faces of the elders grew increasingly grim. Tang Hao had provoked the Spirit Hall years ago, forcing the Clear Sky sect into seclusion and causing its 4 subordinate clans to drift away. Now Tang Hao's son Tang San had gone even further, killing the only heir of the Qin family, causing Qian Daoliu to lose his legacy. Then the father and son had simply left without so much as a warning. The Clear Sky sect didn't even know what disaster Tang San had caused before a peerless Douluo who had lost his mind was already at their doorstep. Tang Xiao couldn't help but rage inwardly. What had Tang San done? Why did he have to kill Qian Daoliu's granddaughter? Why did he attract such a terrifying existence and not even send word back to the sect? Now Tang San was once again dragging the entire sect down to be buried with him. The elders cursed Tang Hao and Tang San aloud. They were the Clear Sky sect's curse. The father forced the sect to seal its gates. The son brought annihilation. They caused trouble and make the whole sect bear the consequences. If they survived this, they vowed to find Tang Hao and settle the score properly. But they also knew survival was almost impossible. Grandfather had made it clear the agreement with Tang Qin, upheld for decades, was void. His son was dead. His most beloved granddaughter was dead. The Qin bloodline was severed. The angel god's legacy was ending. His only reason for staying alive was revenge. Since the Clear Sky sect housed Tang San's family, no argument would change his mind. Tang Xiao finally gave up on reason. He ordered the 6 elders to immediately form the Clear Sky formation. 7 titled Douluo released their spirits simultaneously, and 7 Clear Sky hammers materialized above the mountain gate. Tang Xiao stood at the formation's core, unleashing his level 97 super Douluo power without reserve. The other 6 elders assumed positions, pouring their strength into the formation. The Clear Sky formation was one of the sect's strongest trump cards. It could layer the power of multiple Clear Sky hammer spirit masters, focusing it through the core for a devastating strike. In their estimation, although Qian Daoliu had reached level 99, he was still human. With 7 of them joining forces, assisted by the sect's formation, even if they couldn't defeat him, they could at least make him pay a heavy price. The Grand Elder made one last attempt, arguing that the rest of the Clear Sky sect knew nothing of Tang San and Tang Hao's actions. They didn't want to fight. If Grandfather left now, perhaps they could still find a way to reconcile. Grandfather just laughed. The Clear Sky sect's strongest, Tang Xiao, was only level 97. The other 6 elders had barely entered the titled Douluo realm, and they claimed they didn't want to fight against Qian Daoliu. They didn't even have the qualification to fight. Grandfather had never intended to reason with them. Tang Hao and Tang San, he wouldn't let them go. But since they had fled, he would use the lives of the Clear Sky sect's elders to pay homage to Qian Rinxue at first. Tang Xiao, seeing they had reached an impasse, struck first, activating the Clear Sky 9 techniques. Massive hammer shadows, carrying the power of 7 titled Douluo, came crashing down on Grandfather from all directions. Tang Xiao thought Grandfather would at least try to dodge, but faced with with the rain of hammer strikes, Grandfather didn't retreat. He didn't even take to the sky. He simply raised his sword and walked straight into the heart of the clear sky formation. Hammer shadows slammed against his protective spirit power, but they only created faint ripples. Their power couldn't even truly harm him. You want to make me shed a layer of skin with this? You have no idea what the words "Peerless Douluo" truly mean. You don't understand what it means to be the high priest of the angel god, wielding a sliver of its divine power. Tang Xiao refused to believe it. He intensified the clear sky 9 techniques, layering more and more shadows, trying to crush Grandfather. But he was just wasting his own strength. Grandfather wasn't dodging because he was arrogant. He wanted them to see the gap between them with their own eyes. Angel's sword art flash. Grandfather's figure vanished. The next instant, he appeared behind the Grand Elder. The angel holy sword pierced straight through his chest. The Grand Elder didn't even see how he had crossed the rain of shadows. Holy flame erupted from the wound, consuming him entirely. First one, Grandfather pulled his sword free and thrust it into the ground. Angel's sword art, radiant bloom. Blinding golden light exploded at the center of the clear sky formation, like a sun suddenly appearing amongst them. The searing heat and razor-sharp sword energy swept through the formation in an instant. Two more tidal Douluo elders lost the ability to fight before they could even scream. 3 breaths. In just 3 breaths, the Clear Sky sect had lost 3 tidal Douluo. The formation was severely broken. Grandfather didn't stop. His vast spirit power surged into the Angel Holy Sword. Angel's Sword Art Ultimate. A thick column of crimson golden light erupted from the blade, aimed directly at Tang Xiao at the formation's core. Tang Xiao raised his clear sky hammer, pouring all his strength into block. But the moment the golden light fell, he realized the power was far beyond his ability to contend with. Boom. Tang Xiao spat blood. His body sent flying back from the mountain gate, crashing into the interior of the sect. The clear sky formation, formed by 7 tidal Douluo, was shattered. From its activation to its collapse, barely a few seconds had passed. The remaining 3 elders were still in shock when 2 golden phantoms split from Grandfather's body. Angel's Sword Art Heavenly Dance. 3 figures attacked simultaneously. 3 sword lights crossed. The remaining 3 elders fell almost in unison. Even in their final moments, they couldn't comprehend how Grandfather could be so powerful. 6 tidal Douluo elders plus a level 97 super Douluo sect master. Clear sky formation, and they couldn't even last a single minute against him. Their dying curses were for Tang Hao and Tang San. If it weren't for that father-son pair, this disaster would never have befallen them. The Clear Sky sect's legacy, built over so many years, was being destroyed by 2 men who had already left. After dealing with the 6 tidal Douluo elders, Grandfather hovered in the air. The Angel Holy Sword was still immaculate. The Clear Sky formation is interesting. The Clear Sky 9 techniques are a decent skill, but the people using them are far too weak to understand the chasm between a 99 and an ordinary tidal Douluo. Then Grandfather spread his 6 wings. Thousands of golden feathers condensed in the sky above, each imbued with enough power to tear through rock and building. Angel's Sword Art Featherfall. He waved his hand. The golden feathers cascaded down like a storm of light. The Clear Sky sect's mountain gate was swallowed by endless golden radiance. Buildings crumbled, rocks shattered. The once majestic sect was reduced to rubble. Looking at the system panel, I saw the plot points skyrocketing once more. The Heaven Do royal family was destroyed. Shrek Academy was gone. The last of the 7 treasure glazed tile sect's top strength was eliminated, and now even the long-secluded Clear Sky sect was being flattened by Grandfather himself. The original storyline had been twisted beyond recognition. The support network, continental allies, and future power bases that Tang San was supposed to have were disappearing one by one. But the system prompts hadn't stopped, which meant the Clear Sky sect's reckoning wasn't over yet. 6 tidal Douluo elders each had fallen. Tang Xiao was gravely wounded, but he wasn't dead yet. And since Grandfather had come personally, he would make Tang Xiao witness firsthand exactly what kind of annihilation Tang Hao and Tang San had brought upon the Clear Sky sect. After the 6 tidal Douluo elders fell, the formation was completely broken. Grandfather folded his wings and descended slowly, walking towards the severely wounded Tang Xiao. The golden rain had just swept through the entire mountain gate. The once majestic #1 sect in the world was now nothing but rubble, and the scattered bodies of its disciples scattered among the ruins. Some had survived, but they had long lost the will to fight. Seeing Grandfather approach, they knelt in surrender, willing to join the Spirit Hall, to become servants, begging only to be spared. But Grandfather had come to the Clear Sky sect to kill, not to recruit. If he could destroy the Heaven Do royal family, if he could erase an entire city, he He wouldn't spare Tang San's clan because of a few pleas. Some, seeing begging was useless, summoned their clear sky hammers and charged at him despite their injuries. But their hammers couldn't even touch his clothes, shattered by his protective spirit power, before they could get close. Before in 99, the resistance of ordinary disciples was suicide. One sword swing, and the attackers fell. Those who remained kneeling finally understood they had no way out. Some pleaded, some cursed. Grandfather just told them calmly, "Whether I'll face retribution for this someday, you won't live to see it. But today, you will die." Moments later, the Clear Sky sect's mountain gate fell silent. Those who begged, those who fought, those who stood defiant, Grandfather showed no mercy to any of them. When he finally reached Tang Xiao, the entire Clear Sky sect was reduced to just one survivor. Tang Xiao lay slumped against broken rocks, his breathing ragged, his life almost spent. But he looked at the countless disciples who had fallen and managed a bitter smile. At least they died with dignity. They didn't bring shame to the Clear Sky sect. And I, Tang Xiao, will be the sect's last sect master. Grandfather stood over him. Tang San killed Shuer. I destroyed the Clear Sky sect. That's fair. Tang Xiao laughed. He admitted the Clear Sky sect had lost. He admitted Grandfather had the power to easily annihilate them. But he didn't think Grandfather had truly won. Because although the Clear Sky sect was destroyed, Tang Hao was still alive. Tang San was still alive. As long as they lived, the Clear Sky Hammer's legacy wouldn't end. The sect could be rebuilt. But what about the Spirit Hall? Tang Zhao's gaze turned maniacal. He knew he was going to die. If he couldn't harm Grandfather physically, he would use his last words to drive the sharpest knife into his heart. Qin Shunji died at Tang Hao's hands. Qian Rinshua died at Tang San's hands. The Spirit Hall still exists, but the Qin family has no future. The Clear Sky sect at least still has Tang Hao and his son. You have only yourself. This struck at Grandfather's deepest wound. The Spirit Hall was still there, but the Qin family's future was gone. Seeing Grandfather's expression change, Tang Xiao laughed even harder, pointing at his blood-soaked robes. The Spirit Hall once called itself the guardian of order on the continent. The six-winged angel clan spent generations hunting evil spirit masters. But look at yourself now. You destroyed Heavendo City. You destroyed Shrek Academy. You killed the 7 treasure glazed tile sect's strongest. And now you've turned the Clear Sky sect into a wasteland. Now, Qian Dalu, what's the difference between you and the evil spirit masters the world despises? What's the use of killing so many? Can it bring Qian Rinshua back? Can it restore the Qian family bloodline? No. You destroyed so many places, yet you're still just a lonely old man who has lost everyone. Tang Zhao's speech ended with a mouthful of blood, staining Grandfather's already crimson robes. He wanted his own blood to remind him just how many lives were on those robes. The Clear Sky sect may be destroyed, but our legacy lives on. The Spirit Hall may still stand, but the Qin family is dead in all but name. Tang Zhao's final words were a deliberate mockery. If you're so unwilling to see your lineage end, why not find someone and have another child while you can? That sentence shattered the last of Grandfather's restraint. Silence. Grandfather grabbed Tang Xiao. The angel holy sword swept across, ending the Clear Sky sect master's life. But he still wasn't calm. Instead, he created a golden spear, impaling Tang Zhao's body on the highest peak of the sect, making him witness the complete destruction of what he had guarded his entire life. Grandfather flew back into the air, looking at the ruins, and suddenly let out a strange laugh. Tang Xiao was right. What was the point of killing so many? Shuer wasn't coming back. The Qin legacy was broken. Since his own legacy was gone, then everything connected to Tang San's death shouldn't continue to exist. Tang San had made him a lonely man. He would destroy everything Tang San cared about, making him taste the pain of losing all his family, friends, and support. If the entire world of spirit masters was involved in Shuer's death, then he would kill them all. The 9th spirit ring lit up again. 9th spirit ability, blazing sun descends. A crimson gold sun formed above the Clear Sky sect ruins, then crashed down. Terrifying light swallowed everything. Buildings, bodies, every trace of the Clear Sky sect's existence was incinerated to ash. When the light faded, it was as if no number 1 sect had ever existed there. Only Tang Zhao's body remained, impaled on the highest peak, swaying in the wind, bearing witness to the Clear Sky sect's final ending. Grandfather stared at the ruins, tears streaming down his face. He had personally destroyed an entire sect, yet he still felt it wasn't enough. In his heart, too many people still needed to be buried with Qianren. Tang Hao, Tang San, the Shrek 7 Devils, the Star Luo Empire's Dai and Zhu families, the Tang sect that Tang San had founded, and everyone who had participated in the Heavendo Palace coup to help Tang San defeat Qianren. One of those people was Poison Douluo Dalu. Not only had he helped Tang San sabotage Qian Rinshua's operation, he was a major combatant in the coup. In Grandfather's eyes, Dalu was just as responsible for Shuer's death. And coincidentally, Dalu also had a granddaughter he cherished, Yin. Grandfather had a thought. If he just killed Dalu, he might not truly understand the pain of losing a cherished granddaughter. So Grandfather decided to make Dalu Douluo watch his beloved granddaughter die in despair. Cruel? To any grandfather, it would be the cruelest fate. But grandfather asked only one question. Why should only his granddaughter have to die? With a burst of golden light, grandfather headed for the sunset forest. He didn't know exactly where Douluo was hiding, but Douluo was deeply connected to that forest. If he searched the area, he was sure to find clues, and nothing in the world could escape the pursuit of a six-winged angel. At this time, Douluo had no idea what was happening outside. He had taken his family to a small town near the sunset forest, thinking that Tang San and the others had already gone to see God Island, and that he had left Heaven-Do City in time. He thought the revenge would never reach him. He was even congratulating himself on running fast enough. If Qian Daoliu wants revenge, he should go after Tang San, Shrek, or the Clear Sky Sect. I just helped a little in the palace. Surely a peerless Douluo wouldn't come after me, too. But he didn't know that grandfather had already destroyed the Heaven-Do royal family, killed Ning Fengji and the others, and erased the Clear Sky Sect. At this point, grandfather wouldn't spare anyone connected to Tang San. Douluo sat in his living room, drinking tea, calculating whether Tang San and his group had safely arrived at Sea God Island. He grumbled about Tang San being too impulsive, killing Qian Daoliu's favorite granddaughter, but he still hadn't truly grasped the gravity of the situation. He thought that after hiding in his hometown, grandfather would never find him, until his heart suddenly started pounding violently. A wave of inexplicable dread washed over him. Every hair on his body stood on end. He rushed to the courtyard, releasing his Jade Serpent Emperor spirit, trying to locate the source of the threat. Then a blinding golden light tore through the night sky. Grandfather descended slowly, hovering above the mansion. His robes were still drenched in blood, the angel holy sword in his hand, and 4 spirit power chains trailed from his left hand, dragging 4 unconscious figures. Douluo recognized one of them, and his composure shattered completely. It was his granddaughter, Yin. The other 3 were Yu Tianning, Yi Lingling, and Yi Lingling's mother, Yi Qingqing. Before finding Douluo, grandfather had already captured them. Seeing his granddaughter unconscious, Douluo's heart sank into his stomach. He was still desperately trying to persuade grandfather, saying Yin and the others were just children who didn't know anything. He was the one who helped Tang San. If grandfather wanted to kill someone, he should just kill him. But grandfather only smiled. Killing you? No, I won't kill you first. I want to let you watch. Let you watch your most beloved granddaughter die before your eyes. Let you watch your family die, one by one, in despair. Did you think Schwer wasn't innocent? The Spirit Hall tried to recruit you multiple times, and even though you refused, I never forced you. But you chose to stand by Tang San, helping him destroy the Spirit Hall's plans, ultimately causing Qian Rinchu's death. The kindness of the strong is a privilege for the weak. It is not an excuse for the weak to challenge their limits again and again. The loud noise woke Yin from her unconsciousness. The first thing she saw when she opened her eyes was her grandfather, kneeling on the ground, frantically kowtowing. In her entire life, Douluo had always been a proud, unyielding title Dalu. She had never seen him so humble before anyone. But now, to save her, he was kneeling before grandfather, continuously admitting fault. Yin cried out for help. Yu Tianning and the Yi family also gradually woke up. They simply couldn't imagine what kind of existence Ko old make poison Douluo give up all his dignity and kneel. Douluo once again offered to tell grandfather where Tang San had gone, begging for the lives of the young people. He said the Yi family had never participated in the coup and had nothing to do with Qian Rinchu's death. But grandfather didn't need his information. Ning Fengji had already told him where Tang San went before he died. He calmly told Douluo what he had already done. The Heaven-Do royal family was gone. Heaven-Do City was erased. Ning Fengji, Chenexin, and Gurong had all fallen, and the Clear Sky Sect had just been personally crushed by him. The so-called whereabouts of Tang San was never a condition for survival, because in grandfather's mind, all these people had already been condemned to death. Douluo collapsed to the ground, his spirit broken. He finally understood that the Qian Daoliu standing before him had completely lost his mind. This man had personally destroyed a city, killed several titled Dalu, flattened the #1 sect in the world. How could a few pleas possibly sway him? Yi Qingqing still tried to explain. The Yi family has always been neutral. We never participated in the Heaven-Do palace coup. The 9-hearted begonia spirit has even healed many Spirit Hall spirit masters. If you spare us, the Yi family is willing to join the Spirit Hall completely. Grandfather just said, in the past, I might have let you go for the sake of the 9-hearted begonia's help to the Spirit Hall, but not now. The Yi family may not have participated in the coup, but you're connected to the Douluo family, and I've decided to kill everyone connected to Tang San. Your biggest mistake was being with the Douluo family at this moment. Douluo offered his own life in exchange for his granddaughter's, but grandfather didn't want his life. At least, not right away. He wanted Douluo to watch his granddaughter lose all hope and despair. He wanted Douluo to taste the same agony of loss that had been tormenting him. Grandfather's gaze first fell on Yu Tianning, the heir of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan, Yu Shaojiang's own nephew, and the person Douluo Yin cared about most. He would start with him. The legacy of the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan, Yu Shaojiang's family, Douluo Yin's future, all of it would shatter before Douluo's eyes. Yu Tianning raged, asking how many people the Spirit Hall had to kill. They had destroyed the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon clan, killed so many. Who would avenge them? Grandfather no longer cared about right and wrong. His granddaughter was dead. Therefore, everyone connected to Tang San had to pay. Yi Qingqing made one final plea, promising the Yi family's absolute loyalty. But grandfather's gaze had already hardened. As I watched the plot points on my system panel increasing without pause, I could confirm that grandfather's purge had found a new target. The Heaven Do royal family, Shrek, the Seven Treasure Glazed Tile sect, the Clear Sky sect. Now it was Douluo's turn. The forces and experts that had originally surrounded Tang San were being systematically eliminated by grandfather. However, I didn't know that this time grandfather wasn't just planning to kill Douluo. He had captured his granddaughter, intending to make the old man who also cherished a granddaughter experience the same despair he felt upon losing Shuer. And once this purge was over, another strand of Tang San's connections on the Douluo continent would be severed.